Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Tuesday. What a show we have for you coming up. Zach Berman, Bo Wulf, Brian Baldinger at the top of the show to give us his weekly insight ahead of a big game this weekend, the last game for the Eagles before the bye. And then at the end of the show, we're going to be joined by one of the greatest Eagles of all time. You.
Not an Eagle.
But also Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox stopping by the studio. We had a chance to catch up with him earlier. We're going to show you that, and we're excited to do that. But before we do it, we're pretty much ready for Baldy. But Zach, how you feeling? You've got the good posture going. You look good.
Feel well. It is trade deadline day. It's also Halloween. It's also, we had Fletcher Cox in studio. We have Baldy
Jane's
now.
birthday.
What's that?
It's also Jane's birthday today.
Happy birthday, Jane.
Thank you very much.
I knew that. I remember that. The Ben DiNucci night.
That's right.
Yes. That's the headline here. So big day, a great show, packed show. Excited for it.
All right. Do we have Baldy, Andrew? All right, good to go. Let's talk to the man now, the man who has all the scoop. Baldy, you are like the big. We've got like 3 TVs out here, and like it's like 2 of the 3 have you on them at a different time. Like you're all over the place. You're the hardest working man in football.
I have no idea. The only TVs I have on in here right now, Bo, is game footage of whatever game. I was just watching this play in Pittsburgh. I was talking through it with Kurt Warner. So I was just seeing, what Pickett should have done, what he didn't do, why their offense is a mess. So anyways, I was just going through that. So
just
I'm good here, guys.
Happy Halloween. I like that. That's a good
you guys
flex.
all got dressed up for today, man. I see you're in the theme of it.
Yeah, I like that. So I guess let's it feels like there's not too much to unpack from the Commanders game itself, but one aspect that I would like to ask you about is something that we've talked about, and that's sort of the downturn in the Eagles running game a little bit. How much of that is offensive line driven by some of the changes that we've seen? How much is the way that opposing teams are playing them? What's your sort of assessment there?
I'll be honest with you, Bo. To me, it just looks like lack of commitment. The one thing I can say since Nick Sirianni took over, I don't think this had anything to do with Brian Johnson. Like, in any given game, I go back to like last year when he ran for, 350 yards against Green Bay. Like, they would run the same plays over and over again. Like, they'd get into a rhythm of certain plays. Indianapolis last year, and they would just wear those plays out. And I just don't see the commitment to it right now. And so I think that's what's missing the most, because every, Dickerson and Mulata over there, like that's a powerful left side. They just want to lean on people and beat on people the way we saw Detroit do in the second half last night. And, a lot of these games have been, fairly close. Miami was close for a while. Washington was close. And so I think they're throwing it to get the lead right now. And they're not really getting into any kind of a rhythm to run it. That's my biggest issue right now, to answer your question about that.
And as a follow-up to that, a big part of their running game is Jalen Hurts being +1 in the running game and the RPRs with Jalen clearly banged up. Do you think that's affecting what they're doing on the ground?
A little bit, Zach. I think they could turn around and hand the ball to DeAndre Swift, without, having option reads and including Jalen. I think if you just want to line up and knock people off the ball, I'd put, a lot of money on the guys up front for the Eagles. A lot of these plays are RPOs, so they could run it, or they could throw. It's up to Jalen to decide. And I thought, one of the sacks last week, I think Montez Sweat got it. It's an RPO, and, Kelsey is pulling and they're folding the play. And, I don't know why they just didn't hand it to Gainwell on the play, but he didn't. And then they blitzed him, and he was under duress and took a sack. But, some of these, when we get into, runs, passes, you have to factor in the RPO And should they have run it? Did they make the right decision throwing it off it? Because it's really up to Jalen to decide.
All right, Baldy, I think we should sort of turn the page a little bit to the Cowboys game, because it's obviously a huge game, the start of this brutal 6-game stretch for the Eagles, last game before the bye. And, you could see if they win this game on Sunday, there's a little bit of a separation within the division and even within the conference for the Eagles. What is, if you are Nick Sirianni, what is the number one thing that you are worried about this week, and how can you sort of try to fix whatever that one thing is?
Well, I mean, they're an opportunistic defense. I mean, Deron Bland has stepped in for Trayvon Diggs. I don't know. To me, he's the MVP of the whole Cowboys team, not just defense, the whole team. Like, he's got 4 interceptions. He had another pick 6 last week. He's stepped in, stepped up. And, he's all over the field, covering Nakua last week, you name it. He's been outstanding. So, you throw late on the outside to him, he's just sitting there waiting on this stuff. Like, he's got a good rhythm. He's got a good eyes. He's looking to take it to the house. Now, that being said, they've got great team speed on defense. And to me, the way that you always counter speed is what we were just talking about before, is like, I would run right at this Cowboys team. Just pound them. I'd pound them with, power runs, pulling guards, pulling tackles, gut plays where you're pulling Kelsey, onside guard, whatever. Like, I would try to negate their speed and Parsons' effect by running the ball at them. That's what Arizona did this year when they beat them. That's what San Francisco did to them. And when they beat them badly, that's how you negate the speed. Because what they want to do, honestly, is they play 4 safeties. They play this Marquise Bell down the box with Clark right now. And then they've got Curse, and they've got Hooker, and, they got their safeties. And that's why they look so fast, is they got all these 205-pound safeties on the field, and you got to make them pay for that. And so, to me, that's what I would do.
Obviously, Micah Parsons is the player in focus when the Cowboys are on defense. The Eagles had an interesting approach in that first game last year, that Sunday night game when they beat them, where it was almost like if you don't block them, read them. What's the approach do you think they'll take with Parsons on Sunday?
Well, I've been listening to Micah talk. He thinks the Eagles are the best team in football by far. So, on his podcast, it's pretty interesting. Maybe he's just, laying in the weeds here. I always think that you got to have a plan.
Material.
Well, I mean, so he's avoiding all that. He's smart enough for that. But what Dan Quinn's doing, like last week, he got a sack because they really designed a play just for him, where they put him isolated on the center. They took both defensive tackles and pass rushed him outside. So he had this big room to run around Coleman Shelton, the center, and he beat him cleanly and took down Stafford for the sack. But they do a lot with him. They line him up at inside linebacker. They both sides. They're now lining him up at defensive tackle. So no matter where he goes, it's a little bit like what they did with Aaron Donald a couple weeks ago. Like, I imagine, what's today? Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow, when they start game planning this thing, I can imagine them literally as a group saying, okay, Mike is over here. He's outside Lane Johnson. Like, where's the back? Is the slide going this way? Like, you got to have 2 sets of eyes on him, regardless of who's blocking.
Sorry, we had a little distraction over there. I think that's fair. On the other side of the ball, Baldy, how well is Dak playing right now? I think since that Niners game, it seems like he has turned things up a little bit.
Well, he played his best game last week, and really, he usually plays well when he gets the ball to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee was targeted 15 times last week. I think he had 12 catches. He had the 2 touchdowns. They just seem like they're in a better rhythm when CeeDee gets the ball. And they really had a good game plan against the Rams. They blocked well up front. Aaron Donald didn't ruin their party. And they put CeeDee all over the place. They got him isolated on safeties. They ran him on all kinds of motions. I always feel like that's kind of like his – I know it's his guy. But it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles play him. Like, would they match up? I don't think they will. It's not what they do. But would Slay go with – CD, he plays so much inside. I can't see the Eagles doing that. But you got to have a game plan for him. But Dak's played better. If he's, he gets in trouble like a lot of quarterbacks in this league when it's late in the progression and the pocket is collapsing on him. And all of a sudden he's a little bit off balance and he doesn't have time to really step into his throws and the ball comes out late or whatever. And that's what leads to his interceptions when he's like, he just gets a little frozen late if he can't get rid of the ball quickly.
It's interesting you say that about Slay because a big part of this Eagles defense is built around having two outstanding corners on the outside, and it seems like Bradbury is not quite having the season that he had last year. What's the film showing you?
Well, Zach, you go back to the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know that he can run as well as you need to run on the outside with some of these guys right now. He's been in the league for a while. He's had his share of success, but at some point, guys are going to double move you. They're going to run by you. He got caught a couple of times in the Super Bowl where he's just sort of grabbing when they do those kind of things. If I was James, I don't know. I mean, I'd play off ball a little bit and just use his experience and what's coming at him, reading the routes. But if you're asking him to go press these guys right now, I don't know if that's the best way to play James. And obviously, when they put him in the slot, maybe it was just 1 week, but when they played him in the slot, it wasn't good at all. And they went out and signed Roby and all these different guys because they knew it just it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, we have seen some games from the Eagles this season in which they will give Slay a couple reps inside, but I would imagine, as with most of Sean Desai's plans, we're going to see a little bit of everything. In Kevin Byard's first game, still getting acclimated. Anything pop to you?
I've known Kevin a long time, and going back to Middle Tennessee State, and he didn't look fast to me. He didn't look like he was playing fast, which I expected because it's new, and he's getting these calls late, and he's he's very smart. So it's not like he doesn't know what's going on, but it's a lot to digest in 4 days to get ready for a game. He made the tackles that were his to make. He's a good tackler. I expect him to play faster as these weeks go on. He gets more acclimated to playing with Sidney or playing with Reed or playing on the same side as Slay. I just think he's got to react quicker than some of the things that we saw last week.
A few minutes ago, Fletcher Cox was in studio here with us, and we were talking to him about the season that he's having here. He's playing 70% plus of the snaps, year 12, and it seems to be one of his better years in recent years. What are you seeing from him when you watch?
I remember seeing him down the field, Zach, prior to the Jets game, and he was talking to some reporter for Fox or whatever, and he was just saying like, I'm just healthy. I just think he feels good right now. Now look, they've had injuries to Marlon and to Jalen, and different guys have been out of the lineup, and so he's had to play more reps this year. But I think he's healthier. I think the young guys, like I know Lane Johnson feels this way. Like I think when you're an older guy, like Fletcher, you need to be rejuvenated, not in a way of, okay, I got to get myself, lose weight or get in better shape. It's you need to be energized by the guys around you. And I think seeing Jalen and seeing Jordan and seeing some of these young guys, N'Kobe, I think it's fun being around young guys that are good players. And I think those guys, to me, Zach, have energized him. I know like Landon Dickerson, he energizes Lane. Just, the way that he tinkers and thinks and, the stuff that he says. And so, look, coach speak, you're sitting in these meetings, for Fletcher now, his 12th year, whatever it is. Like you've heard everything, every single check, whatever you can do. You need the guys around you to make it fun. And I feel like these young guys have sort of energized some of the older guys on the team.
Baldy, it is wild how much you know exactly what you're talking about, because that is basically what Fletcher told us. So you are the maestro for a reason. We thank you for the insight as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. Yep, you bet, man.
Thanks, Baldy. I feel like we're getting the hero read on Baldy often because he does happen to often be our hero, but hero bread is what you need if you're looking to have a little bit more of a carb-conscious bread situation. Here's the deal with hero bread. The taste and the texture. This bread is soft and fluffy, and delicious. It's the primary nutritional interest, high fiber and ultra low net carbs, and 0 grams of sugar per slice. The discount code PHLY for 10% off at hero.co. Hero makes sliced breads, buns, and tortillas that are available on hero.co and Amazon. Fewer calories than the leading national brand, 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. So right now, Hero Bread is offering the PHLY fam 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co and use our code PHLY to save on Hero Bread today. That's HERO.co to save 10% today. What a call by Baldy. Exactly what Fletcher says, which you'll get to see at the end of the episode, which we're looking forward to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I thought it was interesting, too, when Baldy was really getting into what Dak Prescott's doing well right now, and hitting CeeDee Lamb. That's going to be something we're going to get into quite a bit these next few days. We actually have a bonus episode this week because it's Dallas week, right? It was always a big thing at the NovaCare complex at the beginning of Dallas week. The cameras would go around and say,
Sirianni's got his T-shirt on.
Yeah, beat Dallas shirt.
Again.
Yeah, how excited are you for Dallas week, right? But look, this is a big deal, and this is a big game. I'm fascinated to see what they do against Micah Parsons. I thought that strategy, and it was actually right before the bye last year too that they played Dallas, and it was a huge win. So I'll be listening to what Baldy said there, seeing if that's applicable. And then it was the bland information was good, and I was actually,
and it wasn't bland.
But you know what? I actually had that in my notes for Thursday when we're breaking down the rosters. So cat's out of the bag. Yeah, cat's out of the bag.
Okay. Well, we've still got a lot to talk about, Zach, and we are about 2 hours and 13 minutes right now away from the trade deadline. A few moves made around the league, including one by the Eagles yesterday. I wonder if the Stone Cold Newsman has anything on that front.
So Montez. So yesterday's
Either
deal.
way,
I'm sorry about
whatever
that.
you want to talk about.
I was pulling up the read here for the next one, but yeah, yesterday the Eagles traded Contavious Street to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, it was announced by both teams as a 2025 7th-round pick from the Eagles and Street for a 2024 6th-round pick. Some of the national reporters, I saw it, I believe, from Ian Rappaport, said that it's actually a conditional 6th-round pick.
He has to play in 6 games?
He has to play in 6 games. So that's
Jimmy
the condition.
Kempke has us covered there in the tracker.
Yeah, so I don't think this signals anything that the Eagles are doing. The Eagles are particularly deep at defensive tackle, as we've noted. I know Street is playing more than Marlon Tuipulotu, but Tuipulotu is their backup nose tackle right now, right? So I know they have Noah Ellis on the practice squad, but they probably didn't want to. A few things here. First off, the Eagles are going to have to make some moves.
I think that's a big part of it.
You know, they're going to have Cam Jurgens come off IR. They're going to have to bring Julio Jones back or up to the 53. This could be his last activation. So they're going to need to open 2 roster spots, and D tackle's a spot where they're especially deep. And then the other thing is Moro Ajomo.
On the come.
How many O's?
Well, he's got 5 O's.
Okay.
But the question is, what percentage are we talking? But he's okay with 55% O.
56%
O.
56% O is he played well this summer, and he could potentially be that. You know, what you're talking about is like your 4th or 5th.
He could take 7 snaps. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that was more the impetus of the move. It gives the Eagles a little more draft capital for 2024. They're anytime you can move up from the 7th to the 6th, you kind of like that.
I guess, yeah.
And now it's not because it's conditional. It's
in a different year too.
Yeah. A pick this year is always worth more than a pick next year, although the Eagles kind of take advantage of that in the inverse way. You know, they like to move up around the following year.
I think this is Street was probably the guy who was going to get cut anyway.
Yep.
And it's a good sign, I think, about Jalen Carter's health this week, because if Jalen Carter wasn't going to be able to play this week, then they wouldn't have traded one of their depth defensive tackles. Probably.
That's a good point. And the Falcons lost Grady Jarrett, so they're in need of D tackle help. Bruce Feldman, the outstanding college football reporter from The Athletic, had the connection that Ryan Nielsen, the D coordinator for the Falcons, was Street's position coach at NC State. So
Interesting. Also with the Saints last year, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So a background there. Good point. I didn't think about that one. That's a good point. So that's a big deal there. I see actually in front of me, Josina Anderson's reporting that the Vikings are trading for Josh Dobbs. Okay?
Really?
Actually, Tom Pelissero had it first.
That makes sense.
It's a pick swap, a 6th, 7th.
That's it.
Type pick swap.
Interesting.
Here,
That's the best they can do, huh?
According to Josina, and Clayton Tune starting this weekend for.
Well, I saw that. But
and then earlier today,
that's the best they could do. The Vikings, if they want a quarterback. All right.
Earlier today, Montez Sweat,
Josh's brother.
Not Josh's brother, although Josh is younger than Montez.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm. That's the advantage of drafting young players, right?
Yes, Montez isn't old.
He's also good.
But is he that good?
He is good.
Is
but
he a
Montez
second-round
Sweat,
pick good? Top 10 pick in the second round?
So
good?
Montez Sweat to the Bears
lesson?
for a 2nd-round pick. Okay, and you're talking about a high 2nd-round pick here. Montez Sweat in a vacuum is, that'd be the going rate for like an edge rusher of his ability and his frame and whatnot. But he's a pending free agent here. I imagine the Bears. I would hope for the Bears' sake that they have a deal worked out here to keep him. But you got to think, like, was a team going to sign Sweat before free agency? I would rather have a top 40 pick, and the Bears are loaded with money.
Yes.
Like, go sign Sweat this offseason or Chase Young, right? This offseason.
Yeah, now it's probably easier said than done to say go sign him because
Sure.
a different team could have traded for Sweat and signed him
Yes.
to an extension. Same for Chase Young. There's no usually the guys who get to free agency are damaged goods to some degree, but like you would have thought that they learned their lesson last year, not to be giving up 2nd-round picks. Like they need good players and they have a lot of money to spend, but just feels short-sighted.
Yeah, it's the 2nd straight year the Bears gave up a high 2nd-round pick, right? Yeah. Last year for Claypool, and I thought it was a lot last year, but at that time you were getting a guy for a year and a half, and you thought Claypool had the upside. That trade clearly didn't work out. The Canadian, what's the name they use? What's his nickname? Something with Canada. Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. The chat might know, but I thought this was a pretty steep price for Montez Sweat, given that he's a pending free agent. Although, here, think about this last year. Roquan Smith got what? The Bears got what for Roquan? A 3rd?
Was it a 3rd or a 2nd?
Was it a 3rd or a 2nd from the Ravens? So that was a similar situation.
Okay. Giants also trading a defensive lineman yesterday.
Yeah, Leonard Williams. And they got a 2nd for him as well.
Yeah, going rate, I guess.
That's the going rate.
I didn't like that deal either.
No, but we talked yesterday about this. Opportunity is not a lengthy visitor, right? And big trade this morning, by the way. Where were you when you found out James Harden was traded?
I was lying in bed.
At what time?
I don't know when I saw the Harden news. It might have been like 6:45, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, tough night at the Wulf household. Stomach bug running through the house. So I slept on a different floor with Casey, so that Rachel and Jane could sleep. A lot of time in bed, but not a lot of sleeping done.
Glad I'm about 2 feet from you right now. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
and
saw.
Of course, the people don't know this. This is our new routine with the new show. Is that before and after every show, I give you a big kiss on the lips.
No, that does not happen. I can assure you that. I saw the Harden trade this morning at like 5:15, and looking at details, and I go on.
Why'd you sleep in?
I go into our Slack, and shout out to Vince. Our here in the office, Vince saw it at 4:45. Put it on the company Slack. So, big deal overnight while you were sleeping. I texted my brothers actually while you were sleeping. That's what I wrote.
Okay.
So once they woke up, they would see that although my brothers.
Do you know who was in the movie while you were sleeping?
Tom Hanks?
No.
I think that's Sleepless in Seattle.
That's Sleepless, yeah. Okay. You know what? I'll give you something. Yeah. A sleep movie.
While You Were Sleeping. Who's in While You Were Sleeping?
I believe that's a Sandra Bullock, Bill Pullman joint.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a good movie?
I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Okay. Was it good when you saw it? Did it keep you entertained?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't have a strong opinion on it.
Have you ever texted while you were sleeping? Not texting while you were sleeping. Have you ever texted the phrase while you were sleeping?
No, but Casey does talk a lot in his sleep. Which
You
is
found that out today or last night?
Well, the last few nights we've learned that,
Yeah.
yes. What'd you make of the deal? The Harden deal?
I mean, I
Check
thought
out the boys,
yeah.
Bodner and Newbeck, were all over that. You
Yeah,
can
great.
watch that now.
Yeah. Make sure after this show, after the Fletcher Cox interview, go back and check that out on our YouTube page. What I make of it, I thought it was good return for where they were painted in the corner. Getting 2 first-round picks, that unprotected 28 pick seems like it could be valuable. I think this sets them up for another move. It gives them optionality. I like KJ Martin. I mean, I would have preferred for the Sixers, man, but clearly they were not getting that.
Seemed like the sticking point, yeah.
Yeah. But given that, like, there weren't a bevy of teams they could trade him to, I thought the return was decent, and they're playing well without him. Maxi's taking that jump. Kelly Oubre has been putting up points. So, and I think they're more athletic now with Martin. So I'm curious what the next move is. I think Daryl Morey usually has. He's thinking 2-3 steps ahead here. So I want to see what the second, third step is.
It almost sounds, Zach, like you kind of want to go to a game.
Yes. Well, I was already. That's a good transition and a good nod for me because I was looking at tickets for this weekend. The Suns are in town on Saturday. It's a day game, and I wanted to take my son. It's just not going to work out with our schedule. We'll go to another one. But where I look for tickets when I'm trying to get tickets is the Game Time app. And I literally mean that. I go onto the Game Time app on my phone, and you can too. And I'm going to tell you how to do that right now. What's that?
Can you?
So with Game Time here, buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. And they're not stressful for me looking for Sixers tickets because Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. So if my schedule does clear on Saturday and I'm able to go to that Sixers Suns game with my son, I would know to pull up the Game Time app and I can see flash deals for last-minute tickets. I can find easy to find. I can see easy to find tickets, and if I wanted to know exactly what the view is from the seat, although I know the Wells Fargo Center pretty well by now, but I could look that up with the image of seat views that they have. And it's the lowest price guarantee, which is always good to know. Game Time is the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. I like that when you just pull it up right on your phone. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off.
What's your best Halloween costume, Zach?
So my best Halloween costume, when I was in college, I used to wear the same costume every year.
Hold on. Let's give the audience like 3 seconds to think about this. Zach was the same thing every year in college. And Zach, just sort of think what would Zach do that would hit his interests and also be incredibly low effort because he's a little bit above the whole Halloween charade to be.
Yeah, when you're not 8 years old, you shouldn't be dressing up for Halloween. But
buzzkill. The
answer is, should I say it? Or
yeah, I think you can go now.
Should we embrace the pregnant pause here, which they tell you to do in journalism? I was someone says birthday suit. No, it was not birthday suit. It was I was Bill Belichick. I had a gray hoodie and I would cut the sleeves at the elbows, and it was just like an easy Halloween costume.
Did you cut the sleeves every year, or did you reuse the one that you cut the first time?
Probably reused the one that I had. It was an easy costume to wear back in college.
I like Munger. That's a good.
I wish. But But
No, see, now someone suggests Jim Boeheim, but he would have never done Jim Boeheim because he had to maintain journalistic integrity as someone who might have to cover Jim Boeheim.
I did cover Jim Boeheim, and I would not. No, I had to maintain journalism integrity. I had to maintain my journalistic integrity for sure. Wouldn't wear Syracuse gear back in college for that reason. But when I was growing up, I was always like a NBA player. Or I think I was Deion Sanders for Halloween one year.
Okay.
Which is relevant in the news now. I had a 21 Falcons jersey, and I wore I wore the bandana that he used to wear. So I think I wore the black 21 Falcons jersey and a red bandana.
I feel like with all of the Berman brothers, you guys had a chance to do like a good group costume idea.
No, we didn't really do that. But my mom would always make us like, and it's gonna be cold tonight. My mom would always make us wear like the jackets when we went trick or treating, and it was always hard to put like the jersey over the. I had one of those starter jackets when I was growing up, right? I had a Michigan starter jacket, and you couldn't put a jersey over that, so it would kind of like be a little buzzkill when you were wearing the jacket over the Halloween costume.
Yeah, that's okay.
What was your best costume growing up?
Probably the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Ah, okay, that seems very on brand.
Yeah. Yes. Why is that on brand?
Because it's like a creative costume.
Because I'm an unfashionable fatso.
No, not at all. Not. No. Not at all. I'm just saying, like, if you're wearing a Pillsbury Doughboy costume, you want people to notice that you're wearing that costume. You're not wearing a Pillsbury Doughboy costume to kind of blend in, right? You're wearing it to stand out. You want to be a point of discussion, right? Like the Belichick costume is like you just want to get through that party without anyone noticing that it's like you're dressing up for Halloween. If you're wearing a Pillsbury Doughboy costume, you want to be the talk of the party.
This wasn't in college. This was
okay. You want to win
6th grade.
Yeah, you want to win this 6th grade costume.
Why do something if you're not going to try to win?
No, I like that attitude. I saw on our Slack thread, and this has also been on social media, that someone had the Randy Johnson costume with the bird. I thought that was fairly creative.
Yeah. All right. Do you think the Eagles are going to do anything here in the next 2 hours?
I think they could. Well, obvious statement, right? I mean, they obviously could. I do think Howie will look, and the more I thought about it, what you said yesterday on the show about edge rusher made a lot of sense, right? Because it's a position where you can never have too much depth. They're not using Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett that much right now. Now, I would think, this is me talking, that Nolan Smith should be your midseason acquisition. Like, play Nolan Smith more. But that's a position that they would definitely want to fortify, especially knowing that you could lose Sweat and Reddick, and that really affects your entire defense. So you might want to have a little more insurance there, and there's some edge rushers that could be available. Carl Lawson is someone who's known to be on the trade block.
Yeah, like I think the prices that we've seen so far for those guys is prohibitive for the Eagles.
So we discussed linebacker yesterday. Here, someone says apparently a lot of interest in Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson from the Bears requested a trade overnight while you were sleeping. And do I see them making a trade for Jalen Johnson? That would surprise me. It would surprise me for this, because I think that would require a relatively premium pick, and then you would have to pay him. And
you're upsetting the apple cart of what's already going on in the cornerback room right now.
Exactly. So I don't see the Eagles. Yeah, and I've said this, and I could be wrong, but when we talked about Patrick Surtain, I said this, that the Eagles need to pay Devontae Smith. That's going to be a huge contract. They're going to pay Landon Dickerson. All right. And I know there's going to be contracts coming off the books, but I think the Eagles are going to want to hold on to both firsts and their first the next 2 years and these 3 seconds that they have. Like those are 5 picks where I don't think the Eagles are going to trade them for a player. And also the Eagles might want ammo to move up, or I should say assets to move up in the draft from like 30. They're drafting at 32. Knowing Howie, if there's like an offensive tackle who's available at like 22 or 23 next year, you're going to want to move up in the draft. Howie likes to move up. We've seen that the past few years. So it would surprise me if the Eagles traded a premium pick, and I think Jalen Johnson would probably take a premium pick. I also think
And Jalen Johnson is no Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you're trading for Patrick Surtain, that's a lot.
Exactly.
But the guy's
the
maybe the best corner in football. Like Jalen Johnson's a fine player.
I also think that Buffalo and San Francisco are two contenders who need corner help more than the Eagles.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Before we get to Fletch, I want to just ask you about like your thoughts on having covered Fletcher Cox for 12 years. Give me obviously we know that you made the trip down to Yazoo City. When did you for the newcomers? When did you make that trip down?
Yeah. So all right, I appreciate you asking me this question. I didn't have this prepared, but I like talking about this because I don't want to say I came in with Fletcher. That's like I started on the beat the same year as Fletcher Cox, 2012. I remember vividly.
I think it's okay to say you came in with him.
He was the first round pick my first year, and
that was Brandon Graham for me.
And so,
because I started the summer after the draft,
so to give you a little background, like a little inside baseball of beat writing. When you join a beat, I don't want to say it's intimidating, but like there's people who are on the beat who are established who have all these relationships, right? So you're not going to come in on day one and like you obviously don't have all these relationships, but it's also hard to get someone to trust you who's been in there and trust people who've already been in there. So oftentimes the players who you have the best chance of building relationships with when you first come in are new players, are players who are rookies or are free agent signings. And so Fletcher Cox is the first round pick, and he was very promising, obviously. And so his rookie year, the Eagles played against the Saints. And I flew and Yazoo City, Mississippi is about 3-4 hours from New Orleans. So before the New Orleans game, I flew to Mississippi, flew to Jackson, drove to his hometown, and spent 2-3 days there. I was in his childhood home. I was with his family, his late brother, his mother, his sister. I was at the barber shop that he went to. I was at his school. I drove around with his high school coach. There's something that I vividly remember, and that's we were on, I believe it was Martin Luther King Drive or Boulevard, and there's a bridge there, and there was a guy. So his coach, Tony Woolfolk, pointed to a spot where someone who's 6'7", 300 pounds used to loiter, named Tutu, and he said Tutu could have gone to the NFL, but Tutu got messed up in the wrong things and didn't graduate high school. And Fletcher Cox did everything that he was told to do, worked hard, went to Mississippi State, was a first-round pick, and got out of Yazoo City, which was a big deal in that high school. I remember his guidance counselor, Christy Cater, was telling me that, she had...
What a memory for the names of these people.
She had a newspaper headline, Cox Soars, the Philly, and she would point it out to all the students who came in about, about getting out. And so did that, and then wrote that story, drove down to New Orleans. I actually I went to the Saints facility, did a story on Jari Evans, who's a Philly native. And then I went to the Pelicans practice and did a story.
Yes, what a busy weekend.
Did a story on Hakeem Warwick, who was with the Pelicans at the time, Philly native as well.
Syracuse guy.
Yeah. So then, and I don't mean to monopolize this conversation. Will I want your Fletcher memories too?
No, that's good.
But then I covered Fletcher throughout his career when he was. I remember his rookie season, Jim Washburn saying God created Fletcher Cox to play in that defense, and then Jerry Azanero next year said, God created Fletcher Cox to play in any defense, and it was a big thing transitioning to the 3-4. And he was really good in that defense too, like really productive playing in Bill Davis and Jerry Azanero's scheme there. And then, but he was eligible for the contract. The Eagles signed him to that big deal at the time, the biggest contract, was the biggest contract on the Eagles. And I remember vividly they had just hired Jim Schwartz, and the big talk was about how he would fit in Jim Schwartz's defense because Albert Hainsworth played in it, Marcel Darius played in it, and Dominican Sue played in it. And the 2017 playoff campaign, this is the last thing I'll say before I'll turn it over to your memories, but the 2017 playoff campaign was Fletcher Cox's best. That run was awesome. But I want to circle back to the Eagles did a promo video. I believe it was before the 2016 season where they actually created a mural. Like the mural didn't exist. They created it for this promo video. And they had Reggie White in it and Chuck Bednarik in it and Jeremiah Trotter in it and Brian Dawkins in it. And they had Fletcher Cox in it. And I remember talking to Fletcher about like that specific mural. And he was like, it really mattered to him. Like he had reverence for the great defensive players in Eagles history. He loves this Reggie White throwback jersey. Reggie White, he once wore 91 for one season, and like Reggie and Fletcher took a lot of pride in that. So that sticks out to me, like the appreciation that Fletcher Cox had for the history of Eagles defenders.
I think there's the core four, as they call them, right? The stolen title for Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham, and Fletcher Cox. And I do think that Fletcher Cox is probably the most underappreciated for what his contributions have been of that group. Like he doesn't have the outsized personality of Kelce and Brandon Graham, and everybody is like so focused on saying anytime you talk about Lane Johnson, you're gonna say, well, he's the best player, he's the best right tackle in football. Like Fletcher Cox was the best player on the team for a very long time and at a really important position. And I think that is because there has been this, like, is he going to stay? Oh, they're re-signing him. Like, is this a great deal? And it's gone the past couple off seasons. I mean, he's having a great season so far this year, but I think that he gets a little bit overshadowed by those other three because like over the course of their careers, he's probably been the best player of the four of them.
Yeah, he is I would agree with that. And I think back, and we discussed this on the pod, I was at the Pro Bowl following the 2019 season, and I did a story on Fletcher there, and I was speaking to Jason Kelce, and Jason Kelce said this in other interviews before too, but Kelce said he's only played with two guys in his career who are like Hall of Fame talents regardless of scheme.
Yep.
And he said Jason Peters and Fletcher Cox. And his point was that for a lot of players, and Kelce put himself in this group, like the scheme needs to fit who they are in order to maximize them. And his point about Fletcher Cox is that no matter what defense he played with, no matter who he played with, he would be a Hall of Fame type talent. And he was an all-decade team in the 2010s. And that always sticks out to me because like Jason Kelce's played with a lot of great players during his career, and he identified Jason Peters and Fletcher Cox as the only two guys like that.
All right, well, FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season, so they've got overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. All right. With that, we are going to now throw to our interview with Fletcher Cox, who stopped by the studio just a little bit ago. That'll close the show for you, so enjoy that. We will be back tomorrow with an extra show. What time are we, 11?
11 o'clock tomorrow.
11 o'clock tomorrow. We look forward to that. Enjoy the trade deadline. If something big happens tonight, we will probably do an emergency podcast. So maybe this is the last you see us for tonight, maybe not. Otherwise, enjoy Fletcher Cox. Hello, and welcome back to the PHLY Eagles podcast. Wulf, Zach Berman, and all of a sudden, Fletcher Cox is with us. Fletcher Cox, it's like we have spent 12 years going to where you work, and now all of a sudden you've returned the favor to come to where we work. Thank you very much for being here.
No, absolutely. I heard about it and decided I'd just knock on the door, see who runs the place, and be on the podcast for a day.
There we go. Less people getting changed in our workplace, but that's okay.
Yeah, way
I think
less
we'd
people
still be
getting
comfortable.
changed in here. It's always funny to hear everyone's opinion about that, but it is different to see, be here and see where you guys actually work at your workspace and Peter enjoy. So let's kick it off.
Well, we are excited to talk to you. And Zach and I were talking about this. Like, it's weird. We both got 2 kids. Like, we've known you for 12 years. We've known you longer than we've known our kids. And it's this weird, like, workplace acquaintance relationship. I know Zach, like, never stops talking about his trip to Yazoo City. He went to, what is it, PRALs?
PRALs, yeah.
Heroes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Cajun Mudbugs. Is
That's
that right?
right, Cajun Mudbugs, baby. Right there in Little Town, Yazoo City, Mississippi.
It's great. And it's you are 12 years into your career, one of the best Eagles of all time. And we're just happy to sort of unpack this stuff with you a little bit.
I'm happy to be here. So got the suitcase open, ready to unpack, and
Here we go.
happy to be here. Surprise guest here today. Don't really
What,
need an introduction.
I guess what's different for you now versus the beginning of your career? Before we started recording, we were sort of talking about like the Tuesday routine, what you have to do for your body. Like, how much more do you have to do than you used to have to do?
I mean, usually when I was a rookie a long time ago, I could just kind of wake up out of the bed and go, just play a game and feel good the next few days, and that felt great. But after playing so long and your body just taking so many reps and just become like you have to kind of invest in your body a lot because it's rolling out of bed and going to play days are kind of over. Even though I still call myself a microwave, just hit the express, the express button.
Sure.
But it's not like that no more. So it's a slow roast now and getting warmed up and getting ready to go.
What goes into that?
Just a constant, staying consistent. Staying consistent with how I treat my body, recovery wise. If I got at this point in my career, any little nagging, something that's nagging, I don't want it to be too big. I just kind of live in the training room and take care of it. And just the post practice, the post game stuff that I kind of massages and making sure that I'm on top of stuff.
On that note, we talked about the 12 years. It's gone by fast for me. I remember when you were 21, but I'm not going up against Zach Martin and all those guys. What keeps you going? What keeps you going here in year 12, playing 73% of the snaps, most snaps since 2019? What has you out there every day?
It's a lot that keep me going. I talk about it a lot. The one to do it, and the drive that keeps me. Wanting to do it is, being there, being a good teammate, being a good leader. And, obviously I played a lot this year, 70-some% of the snaps. And, we've had some guys down. So I got to step up and play a little bit more role than what I normally do. So I've been enjoying it. We had some, like I said, had some guys down, even had some guys go down last week and, just put a couple more reps on me. But, I take full advantage of it. And I think I'm later in the season, it's going to get a lot easier. Those reps will go down where then, I could really take off, with the end of the season.
Now, it feels to me like, you have been playing very well this season. Do you feel like this has been one of your best years in recent memory?
It has been. And, I was talking to I think it was my cousin or, somebody the other day, and it was like, man, like you look young again. And I tell him, I said, I might look young, but I don't feel that way. But I think the biggest thing is what really driving me is those young guys, Jordan and Jalen and Milton and, Ojomo and, Marlon and, all those guys is really, that's what's driving me, because the most important thing is they're so young and they don't really know. And my favorite part is I never hear them complain. And when I don't hear them complain about nothing, this makes me like, yeah, these are guys I really want to play with.
Now, that was once you. What Jalen Carter is now, that was you in 2012 as the first-round pick, all the hype. What are you telling him now about your experience? And I know you were in his ear throughout the summer trying to make sure that he was ready to go.
Just being a pro. And that may sound, cliche or generic, is just trying to teach him how to be a pro. Try to teach them, how to respect the game, what really goes into the game of football and, how to prepare. And I think that's the biggest thing. And, he's a stud. The kid he's unbelievable to be, a rookie. And I told him, I said, I've been a rookie. I said, I've been drafted in the first round. And in this city, there's pressure. No matter, how you put it, there's pressure. And the city, they just want you to do good. And I just keep explaining it to him every single day, and he's just taking it on, and I see it grow every single day.
In terms of player development, because you've got all those young guys you're talking about, in terms of like how guys get better, I feel like that a lot of the time that credit goes to the coaches, right? But I think you have seen over the course of your career like the importance of player-led, progression, and you working with those guys. Like, do you think that we don't give enough credit to the players' role in getting other players better?
Absolutely, I believe in it. I think that the thing about it is with a lot of our young guys, especially Jalen and Jordan, I let Coach Rock, I let him give him the tough love, and when I mean the tough love, get on them, correct them, and then that's when I come behind him and say, you see, like the things that he's telling you is right, and sometimes it coming from player to player, the player can understand it more,
Right.
and then coming from the coach, well, it's the tough love about it, and that's the thing that we all need, right? We need the tough love, and then we need somebody to come behind and say, hey, listen, you take this step, take that step, it'll be that, you get to the quarterback that much quicker.
Is that the kind of thing where like you and Coach Rock talk about that? Like he's like, all right, I'm going to come hard, you come in nice
No,
on the
that's
other
not-
side, or it's like you just know.
I just know. And, like I said, I'll stop a meeting and kind of walk through those type of things with JC or JD or Milton or whoever it is that he's trying to coach the point up to. And that's just the respect that, Coach Rock and I have.
Got it.
And it's the type of thing too. It's kind of like this under the radar leadership style that you have. The Eagles have had a lot of leaders here during the past decade, and your style is unique to you, and it probably doesn't get enough attention like from us in the media. What do you do behind the scenes that people don't know about?
It's the way that I practice. I practice hard, and I drill hard. Individuals hard individual is where you perfect your stuff at. You can, that stuff carries over the team, but I express to the entire group that this is where we get better at. Individual. This is where you get in shape at in practice. Running to the ball and doing those type of things, and it's really funny doing training camp. A lot of young guys would come up to me and even, man, you really be running. I said, this is where it all happens right now. I said, we can't wait October to November to get in shape. I said, we have to do it right now.
And so who did you learn that from?
Trent Cole. My first couple of days practicing with him, he never, number one, he didn't come to OTAs and he shows up for mandatory minicamp and I'm running to the ball and I just get and I'm like, and it's Trent flying to the ball and I'm like, oh, well, I must not be running fast enough. And that right there really opened my eyes to know me. I thought I was working hard, but this guy, he's been around a while. He know what it takes. I need to follow him.
Yeah.
And so like Jalen Carter, for instance, I know you were calling him basically every day during the summer. Are there things like that you do where it's not vocal publicly, but it's vocal behind the scenes?
Those are the things that you look at and you grow as a teammate. Because obviously everybody had this whole deal about Jalen pre-draft and I'll say it right now, he's such a good dude. I respect the hell out of him. He's such a good dude, such a good teammate. He don't speak a lot, and you can help him with anything. But me calling him was, just trying to create their relationship early. Even though obviously, I come to a few, off-season deals, and he was there a couple of times, and I was there, and we talk and talk ball, talk life, and I told him, hey, make sure you stay in shape when you come back for training camp.
The thing that people always talk about with Jalen now and with you is just how strong you guys are. And I think there's something very cool about being like the closest player to the ball and you're just like the strongest player on the field and you're owning it. But do you feel like because that's all everybody talks about, you don't get enough credit for like the craft of the position that you have?
You just, the craft is the craft. You some get the credit, some don't, right? But you don't really worry about, what I don't really worry about what people say or think about, what we're doing or what I'm doing. All I want to do is I want to be there for the guy next to me, each side. And I think, to me, that's all that matters.
What was the term Jason Witten used? Man dog, I think he said. But speaking of that, it's Dallas week here. You've had a lot of big games against Dallas. What's your most vivid memory against the Cowboys in your career?
Oh man, I had a couple. I've had a couple, but I think the one of the best memories was when Chip was here. It was in Dallas, and Brandon Boykin called game on a pick
Yep.
late in the game to win the game. And I think that our sideline went crazy when that happened. But it's always fun and challenging when you play them. They know us, we know them.
Is there like a nod before like the first snap, you and Zach Martin again? Like, here we go again. Like, all right. Like, this is like the 20th
right?
time we're playing against each other. Like,
it's respect. We've played each other a lot.
Yeah.
I
think this is his 10th year. So that would be, I mean, I don't know if there have been missed games in there, but it's about 20 times.
Yeah, we've played each other a lot. So it's like mano a mano is like bring it on and we'll talk after the game.
Okay.
It's one of them things. Like we got our respect thing. We'll walk out to the coin toss, and we'll talk, and we both will go. Well, here we go.
Right.
And it's always. And I always look forward to that though, because he's one of the best guards in football, and I still think I'm one of the best D tackles in football, and it's gonna be fun getting after it.
In the media guide, it says that I think you answered Tyron Smith's the toughest player you've ever gone against. Is that the case?
When I was playing on the when in that defense, I was on that side at the time.
Okay.
I never really had a chance to go against Zach a whole lot when I was playing on the right side of the defense, but that's just probably changed. I think I got a lot of respect for Zach, and we have our battles.
The last one that I want to ask you about, because we got such a kick out of it, was the Phillies celebration that you went down on. I know that you've talked about it a little bit, but like, did you really just sort of talk yourself in and just like, I'm Fletcher Cox, I'm going in there now?
Man, I just I kind of found my way in there. Let's just say that. And
at what point, like during the game, you're like, I'm going to go down there?
No, it was no point during the game. I was going in there.
Yeah.
They won the game. I'm going in there. Like, I asked a guy, like, how do you get to the clubhouse? And he goes, go this there. And I was like, yeah, take me that way. So I get there, and the guard was at the door, and I was like, hey, I need to get in there. He was like, okay. So I was like, went in there for a few minutes, and realized I, kind of celebrate with them for a minute, and I needed to get out of there before I got in trouble. So,
How long did it take you to get the champagne out of your beard?
About 2 days. The night after I tried, when I got home, then worked the next morning, and after practice, because I got a whiff of it during practice with my helmet on, and realized it's still not there. It's still not gone. And but it took a couple of days and got it out, and it's all good.
And does that work often in Philly? You walk in somewhere and I'm Fletcher Cox.
I'm getting in there.
Well, I humbly walk in there everywhere I go.
He got you in this building today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I humbly walks in here. I knocked on the door, and no ID, no way to get in, like no tag. I kind of just like I was.
I'm looking for Zach.
FedEx man or something, and they let me in. So I'm here. Surprise.
Well, we are happy that you made the trip today to come visit us, Fletcher. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right. So for Zach and Julia and Fletch, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.